This Mercedes AMG GTS with a cheap widebody kit came to us from another shop that already had their hands on it, and we've been working on fixing the kit to get it looking amazing. Check out the previous videos on this build to see all the work we've done so far, so with that said, let's dive right into it.
Two-part foam on this because of how low this hood fits. Really, we got the hood to finally fit really well to these fenders, as you can see here on both sides.
Yeah.
Obviously needs a little bit more refinement on that side. This side's pretty dialed. But the bumper, the way it met up to the front of this hood, either the hood in the making process of it, it curved up at the front, or the bumper did the opposite and went down. So we have to build this up quite a bit, and then I'm gonna lay fiber. I'm gonna body work this, it will be nice. And then I'm gonna lay this up in fiberglass. And I'm actually gonna I'll put some mold release on here once it's fine-tuned. And then I'll lay my glass on here, and then I'll pop this mold off. And then I'll remove all of this. And then I'm gonna I'll probably fiberglass in the piece that I've removed on top, and then I will get rid of the existing stuff so we have the proper fitment to the hood. Bumper fits absolutely perfect to the front end of the car. So now I am creating pieces of fiberglass that this is all waxed with mold release. So I'm gonna be making a mold of this with all these strips of fiberglass that I have pre-cut. And I'll be making a buck of this shape. And then tomorrow you can release this mold from here. And then I will do a reverse layup so it has this exact shape. And then at that point, I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna attach the two, but I think it's gonna be somewhere around here with a flange. And then I'll be glassing the new piece on and then eliminating all this. It's a lot of work, man. We refined a lot of it, made all the mounting points good. So that's all sorted out. Once this is completed, then we can start the final bodywork stage and then get in some primer. Just doing that front of this bumper is probably close to 16 hours so far.
Oh my gosh. What would happen if you don't pull a mold? Like, if you just...
It would have been like the hood gap.
No, like...
If I left this,
yeah.
this will shrink and bubble and pop and break off. This is
underneath, right? Like it looks like.
Yeah, expanding two-part foam.
Yeah, but so like in the sun.
That's not structural at all. There's no structural to this. You can make this look good. You put this out in the sun with paint on it, especially black, that absorbs the most heat. This will probably release and crack and do all sorts of weird shit. That's not what this is intended to do. This is intended to get the proper shape, proper fitment to the front end of that car, the best that we can, and then we'll refine the bodywork after it's attached. And there's still...
Let's prime the foam and call it a day. I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I know. That's how most people would think, like, if they're not body guys. Like, how strong is this
I already cut it out. It looks
exactly.
sick, right?
Yeah, a body filler over it. Come on, it looks perfect.
It looks sick.
It's not for structural integrity in any way possible. Okay?
Bonded the foam.
Stop giving Elvis ideas.
Fucking $3,000 in panel bond, you'd be having no problem.
Let's make the whole kit out of
skip the whole. You probably could. You probably could.
Brett is just dying over there.
It's so nice that it's a shame just to. This is for a mold.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's so
look
nice.
at that. That's perfect, and it fit perfect.
I know. I wish it was done.
You know, right? Like, we went to step 10, and then now we're cutting out to go back to step 3 to make it back to step 10.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So
it was bodywork to perfection for just to make it so that we can do it again in fiberglass.
I wouldn't say it's
I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah,
bro.
I know.
Like,
it's kind of
like 90. It's body work to around like 96 96%.
Oh.
So it's like close. Like,
But it'll make your job easier in the long, like.
well, no, because there's still a lot of work, right? I have to make this mold. I have to make the buck for the mold, and then I have to create the piece in fiberglass, trim the piece, and then I have to graph it into what's right here, right now. I have to cut this all out because this is like.
Essentially cutting the top half.
This piece is about that thick right now. This
That's the
flange will remain the same.
Okay.
So when this, like, but it will just be probably 3 or 4 layers of fiberglass sheet, and then 3 or 4 layers of fiberglass sheet this way as well on the flange. But it'll still have that appearance of being that thick, but it won't be that thick. It'll only be 4 layers of glass thick.
There, we're getting close. Dialing in the gaps and the bodywork and stuff like that. So we did all our mounting. So now it's just refining the kit after we got the mounting stage done. Just bodyworking and stuff like that, because like you can kind of see it's like super wavy. I don't know, you might not be able to see it like right here. Super wavy. So all that stuff needs a little bit of bodywork, and then it's not much, man. Bodywork, 2 fenders. Make a bumper from scratch, you know.
No big deal.
No big deal. No, nothing, man. It's all good. Yeah. Just make a bumper from scratch. It's all good.
That's crazy.
Got our hood fittings completed.
Nice.
All the hood gaps are nice. Sits even too. Like, despite these carbon hoods, they're not 100% perfect in shape and like symmetry, so we found like a balance of all the panels and everything is gonna get squared up. So
Sweet.
looks sick.
The next day,
So this is that mold that we made yesterday. We laid it up with the new piece. It's already trimmed. I pre-trimmed it all. I popped it out. So that's the piece that was body worked onto the car. That is now made into a proper piece. And as you can see, this is the factory piece. So I'll just close the hood so you get an idea as a reference to how bad it was. That's literally the gap that this bumper had. Pretty close.
That's
and you can see
crazy.
that you can almost fit a hand in here. So now, with the new piece,
That's wild.
pretty rough, but you can see that the gap, once we get this dialed in, it's gonna sit roughly around there. And you can see that this gap is much proper now.
That's pretty sick. It's cool to see the difference between both of them. Dang.
It's pretty wild how bad the original bumper piece is, that you can fit your hand in this whole gap. And I don't know if it's probably an issue with when the bumper was removed from the mold originally at whoever made the kit. So but that's how we fix these issues properly with fiberglass. So now we'll graft the 2 pieces together, take it off, reinforce the backside, make new brackets to mount to the rad support, because this piece has, these are pretty janky. It's just some really thin sheet metal that has no strength at all. So once this gets bonded together, I'll make some new brackets out of probably 1/16 aluminum. I'll bend them up to the shape that's required, and then we'll do our panel bonding and reinforcing with some fiberglass. Don't buy cheap body kits.
Very passionate about this topic.
Yeah. We would much rather put a crazy expensive kit on a car and just refine a little bit of bodywork and then prime it, block it, and paint it. But you can see Spencer's been bodyworking this fender, and you can see how much it actually requires. It's pretty extreme. Like, it's not just, you know, especially on a car like this, but any car really, if you care about the quality of the finished product, it needs to be taken to this level, right? Just this alone is close to, you know, 20 hours of work to get to this stage.
That's wild.
Making a buck on the car, bodyworking the buck as perfect as possible, to pulling a mold off of the buck, to refining the buck, to making this plug. Or no, the plug would be the buck, this would be the piece, the final piece. To the final piece in this form is almost that much time.
That's wild.
But, you know, it's, because it's like working, you gotta like work back, you gotta work forwards to move backwards. It's so much work.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it would have been nice to have just overlaid it and bodyworked it, and, you know, but you can't do that because it wouldn't last. This is the only way to make it have a chance at lasting.
Good.
Just doing body work.
Mm-hmm.
Like this to put the headlights back in, so we can make sure that the gap here is good when we bond that piece to this piece. And he's working on the fenders.
This fender's roughed out in terms of the shape to the headlight, the gaps, door gaps, edges and stuff like that all have to be refined. Like, if you look at the wheel arch here, it was sitting a little bit low, so that required body work here to build it up and have a better shape to the wheel arch, right? Because that's very visible. So, I mean, like, if you were to look at this fender when it was all black and gel coat, you're like, oh, it's pretty sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But until you start feeling it, blocking it out, looking where all the lows are, like, this side is not even, this side is just very rough just to dial in the gaps, like, but you could already see what it took, like this whole upper area on the apron, like that had to be built up. This had to be built out. If you look on the other side, I did a lot more body work. Like, look at this whole section here. This had to be straightened out in body work because it had a bow in it when it first came from, you know, as it sat. The other side was straight, so we had to make them both match, right? So that required a lot of body work here. All super wavy up here, but it's all smooth now. This whole area needed to be built up to match the door gaps to the hood. You know, like even this, like I'm going to body work this next, but you can see already, like when I was blocking this out, all these darker spots are areas of the sandpaper never made contact. So that just shows you where it's low.
Dang.
So pretty much the entire fender is going to get body work, just so. And the car's black too, so it's got to be laser straight, looking nice.
And then you tape this so you don't scratch it, right?
Yeah, because we're not painting the whole car yet, as far as I know. We're just
we're not going to be painting the whole car.
Like the car is pretty much brand new, so there's no point painting the rest of the car. You know, the door's nice. We'll probably give the rest of the car a polish.
Yeah, we'll cut
and it'll
polish
match the fenders with fresh paint and everything. So yeah, this is just to protect my block from possibly going there, or like my sander going there. I'm pretty good with it, but this is, of course, you never know, right? That's the situation here.
No, we're gonna tape them up a lot tighter so that the fitment around our thing is very visible, and there's no wrinkles in the tape or anything like that, because that'll affect our initial fitment of this panel.
Oh.
This was very rough, just so I didn't scuff the lens or anything like that. This is just like a protection thing, but now we got to redo it to like
very smooth.
See the edge, because we're dialing in, like we're doing the finesse stage right now, you know, with all the body gaps and stuff like that. Fuck this tape, man. What the fuck, yo?
It's funny, man. Wanting to build cars with no patience is not a thing.
We still have to bond the piece we made to the bumper and blend it all seamlessly, so if you want to see that and more, stay tuned for the next video and we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.